Hi there, thank you for stopping by and clicking on this video. Today I want to narrate my experience becoming temporarily paralyzed at the age of 30. I'm Susanna, I'm 31 years old. My parents are both Nigerian, so that makes me Nigerian. I was born and raised in Italy. Growing up, I was a pretty active kid. I enjoyed running, playing outdoors. I was generally pretty healthy, aside from the occasional cold or fever. So I was 13 years old when I became temporarily paralyzed. But let me take you back a year before. When I was 12, I started struggling with juvenile arthritis. My knee became swollen because it was filled with liquid, and it impacted my walking because I couldn't fully stretch my knee. I was then referred to a pediatric rheumatologist. At first, she used a needle to suck the fluid out of my knee, but after a few sessions, she realized that the fluid will simply come back and it will cause me even more pain. At that time, she also prescribed me a medication. It was in powder form, and I will mix it with water and drink it every morning. I'm not sure what it was doing, but it was pretty harmless, I would say. So around 9 months into me dealing with juvenile arthritis, my knee was not improving. It was swollen all the time and I couldn't walk properly again because I couldn't fully stretch my leg. But the rheumatologist decided to give me an additional medication called methotrexate. Because juvenile arthritis is basically caused by an overactive immune system, the rheumatologist decided to give me an immune-suppressant, thinking that that would resolve the arthritis. Not only it did not resolve the arthritis, but it also put my life at risk. I took methotrexate for about 4 to 5 months, and I vividly remember one day going to the pharmacist to get my prescription, and the pharmacist asked me, "Is this medication for you?" I said yes, it's for me. In my mind, I was thinking, why would he ask me that? But then I saw that he looked confused and also concerned, but I didn't think anything of it because at the time I was 13 years old and I didn't know anything. I kept ingesting the medication until one day things went really bad. One afternoon, it was the end of May 2007, and I went out with some of my classmates to this pizza place. So I get my slice of pizza and I noticed that it tastes really funny. It was really unpleasant. I don't know how to describe it, but I still remember the taste in my head. But I think nothing of it, and then I go home. So I go back home, I have dinner with my family. In the evening, we are all chilling in the living room watching TV when I suddenly feel a tingling sensation in the right side of my body. It kept getting more and more intense until I felt numb. So at that point, I start to panic. I tried to alert my parents, but no sound comes out of my mouth. My parents quickly realized that something is wrong, so they asked me what's wrong, what's wrong? I start crying. My dad picks me up, puts me to the back of his car. My mom is next to me. They drive at full speed to the nearest A&E. So I get admitted to this local hospital after a short delay. Luckily, I was admitted quite soon and I spent the night in the hospital. The next day, I was transferred to another bigger hospital, to the infectious disease department. That place looked like a prison. It was so sterile, very white and gray. All the nurses had to wear masks at all times. Visiting was very limited to prevent the spread of diseases. It was a lot for a 13-year-old to take in. Just a few days before, I was in school with my classmates, preparing for our final exams. Funny enough, I was able to do my final exam in the hospital despite everything that was going on. The doctors ran some tests and they quickly discovered that the reason I became paralyzed in the right side of my body was because I contracted tuberculous meningitis. I contracted a deadly virus because I was taking an immune-suppressant medication, methotrexate. So my immune system was completely depleted and I couldn't defend myself from any infection or any virus. That rheumatologist prescribed me a life-threatening medication with no warning or side effects. She did not discuss any of this with me. It all came as a shock. Yeah, so the diagnosis was tuberculous meningitis, and at that time it only affected the left side of my brain, which controls the right side of the body, and that is why I was paralyzed in the right side. I ended up being hospitalized for about 4 months. The first month I lost so much weight. I had zero appetite. I was eating maybe 2 pieces of fruits per day. I'll mostly spend my time lying in bed, obviously, but sometimes the nurses will make sure that I will spend some time on the wheelchair so that I wouldn't develop bed sores. Thankfully, my mom will come after work and spend the night with me, and my dad will come during the day, so they will alternate. For the whole 4 months, I was on heavy antibiotics. They attached something like this to my chest so that they could administer the antibiotics straight into my veins. I was also taking antibiotics in pill form. It was really tough. I cried every single day. I literally couldn't believe that this was happening to me. A few weeks before, I was in school, I was living my normal life. But in the midst of everything, I still had hope that very soon I will be home with my family and I will be back to my normal life. I had that innocent faith that children have, and I think that made a huge difference. I remember my parents got me a small TV. That was good because that kept me distracted. I kept watching MTV, and every time Umbrella by Rihanna came on, I was so obsessed with her hairstyle. I also enjoyed watching H2O. If you know, you know. Watching TV gave me an escape from everything from that place because it really felt like jail. As the months went by, I was making progress and I was responding positively to the treatment. So the doctors decided to transfer me to another department which was more focused on rehabilitation. That department was more lively, allowed for more visitors, so I was happy to finally be out of the infectious disease department. However, after 2 weeks, the doctors noticed that I am regressing instead of getting better. So they decide to transfer me back to the infectious disease department. When the doctor told me that the infection was back and that I had to be transferred, I completely lost it. I started screaming. I was so done with everything. My dad was there. He tried to calm me down, but I was just over it. I was over it. I kept screaming, I want to go home, I want to go home. At that point, it just felt like they were keeping me hostage. Obviously, they were not. They were trying their best to treat me from this disease that literally could have killed me. So now I was back. They made sure I gained enough weight so that the antibiotics would actually be effective because I wasn't eating a lot. Slowly, I started to improve again and make progress. Everybody was rooting for me, the nurses, my parents, obviously. They were praying for me every day. And I was praying for myself. I really wanted to be out of that. It wasn't a good place to be in. A couple of weeks go by, and before I knew it, the doctors were happy to transfer me back to the rehabilitation department. I spent around 2 to 3 weeks there doing physiotherapy. I had to relearn how to stand, how to walk, how to feed myself, how to go to the bathroom by myself. It was a lot. I was finally discharged at the beginning of September. I was so happy to be back home after 4 months of hell. At that time, I could walk, but only for a few meters. I couldn't walk long distance at all. So I kept using the wheelchair for 1 to 2 months. And I started my high school on the wheelchair. But then after 1 to 2 months, I was able to go to school by myself, walking. I was so proud of myself and so happy. Thankfully, the doctors really tried their best and I was finally healed from the infection. There was no trace of it anymore. But obviously, I was left with the effect of half of my body being paralyzed. And to this day, my right hand is quite rigid. I also tend to limp, and those are all after effects of having a paralysis. Of course, physiotherapy helps. I want to continue to invest into more and more sophisticated ways to treat my condition. Yeah, this is the aftermath of that whole situation. It's me having a high functioning disability. High functioning because I'm fully independent. I can do anything I want pretty much, but there's still limitations in my movements. I'm telling this story for different reasons. One is because for many years this is something I was scared to talk about. I just wanted to hide it from the world. I didn't want people to notice that my hand is a certain way or that I walk a certain way. I didn't want the spotlight to be on me because of this. But I guess as you get older, you just learn to care less about what people think. And I want to live in my truth, and this is part of my experience. Another reason why I wanted to talk about this is to highlight the dangers of medical malpractice and medical racism. I should have never been prescribed methotrexate at the age of 13. That medication is lethal. It can put your life at risk, and if you're taking it and you're unaware of the effects, please contact your doctor and talk to them about the risk of having your immune system compromised by this medication. I'm not a doctor, so of course I'm not giving medical advice, but I urge people to do their research whenever doctors prescribe you any medication, especially antibiotics and immune suppressants. Always look at the side effects. If you've made it to the end, thank you for listening. This is my first video and I'm aware it's quite a heavy topic to start my YouTube channel with. But I don't want my channel to solely be about my high functioning disability. I also want to do vlogs and other things, but I will definitely continue to talk about my experience and how it has affected me in all these years until today. This channel was created to document my 30s, and I'm 31 already, so I'm 1 year into this journey. Yeah, let's see how things go. I wanted to start by telling my truth, I guess, and I never thought I would set up a camera and talk about this experience, but here I am. Starting these 30 somethings with honesty and bravery is a good thing. Anyway, thank you, and I will see you in the next video.